This is, I guess, the season of cantilever gates. What's up, guys? We are here this morning in Clinton project. This is, I guess, the season of cantilever gates. We're about to get a delivery for the cantilever gates that go here and back behind me. I'll show you back over in here somewhere. So we're gonna get those set up. These are gonna be a part of this, all this new wood privacy that we did for this area. Still working on a long run over here on this side. So I'll show you some of the aspects of this project and what we're gonna do to get these cantilever gates in place. So stay tuned. All right, so this is one side of the property. You can see this is new privacy that we're putting in. It's kind of foggy this morning. I don't know if you can see the guys down there. They're picketing and hanging pickets here. So this is all new. This was some old wood privacy for this yard area, and the posts were breaking off and rotten, and so they needed to replace everything. So this is in process, but they did go with a metal post, and then they also elected to do 4 horizontal 2x4 runners instead of the normal 3 on a 6-foot fence, in order to just give some extra support. So these are pretty solid with the metal post and the additional rails. And so this will be a fence that'll last a long time. And just to note, like what's standard on all of our pine privacy fences is our red pine pickets, and then our number 1 grade 2x4s and 4x4s if there were 4x4 posts here, but this is an upgrade to the steel. So with that, they need privacy for this area, but they needed a bigger opening coming off the highway here. So this gate's gonna go away, and we've got our post set for a cantilever gate that's gonna be a 25-foot opening that cantilever spans. And similar to the last cantilever gate that we showed, it's gonna have some brackets on it that we can put our 2x4s on and put pickets, so that this new opening here, it'll slide to latch, and it'll have pickets, and all this will be private and closed off, nice and new and looking good. So here's the other side. We're still in the middle of framing this. We got some of the pickets in down here, and still got to do this end, but this will come to this corner, and then this opening here will be another cantilever gate. You can see the 2 bigger posts behind our fence line. That'll be our cantilever posts. We're gonna get this all prepped and go ahead and check how level we are, and find our position for the rollers on both this gate and the next gate, and get ready for the delivery of our gates that we'll install. Okay, so with both these openings, it's a 25-foot opening. So that's gonna it's gonna close and latch at that corner there. But we're kind of mapping out our layout for our rollers and checking our grade. So with this, we want this gate to be as level as possible. So from this inside hinge post back here, the gate will be 25 feet opening plus a counterbalance, which is going to put us back to this point when that gate is fully open. So we need that much clearance behind that opening to be roughly 39 feet for the tail and counterbalance to clear here. But also from this point all the way to the corner, we want to try to keep things as level as possible, so that gate's not going uphill or downhill, and it's going to slide properly. So what we're going to do here is we've already got a stake set at our back point here, and just eyeballing it, this end looks a little bit higher than that end. So we're going to start on this end. We're going to drop a string all the way down to ground level and run it over here with a line level. You could also do this with a laser if you had one set up. to see what the drop is from this high point where the gate will end when it's open, all the way to the corner, which is where it will end when it's closed, and get a reference for level across that span. Okay, so we got a string started at this point. I've got that all the way down to ground level, and then I'm gonna go down here to what seems to be our low spot and find level and mark that on the corner post. The only thing I have to find out is, I can't tell if it crowns right here kind of in the middle, but if so, then we'll take that into account with our level and get all that lined out. So we got our line run down here to the corner, and I've got our line level here. So I've got that right between the bubbles to level to our point. So this is going to represent our ground level point, and I'm going to mark this with a Sharpie on the post and then be able to set up our rollers according to this line. The next thing I'm going to do is, so this is, let's see, roughly a 8-inch drop from end to end, but on the back half of that counterbalance, it doesn't get the pickets. So those pickets for this opening size, which is that first 25 feet, we'll want to try to keep down as close to the ground as possible so there's not a huge gap. But we've got a little bit of play because the back, the front 25 feet will have pickets on it and we'll need to clear when it opens, but that back part will have roughly 8 inches of play because it won't have pickets down below the frame. So right now I'm going to make a mark at 25 feet back from our inside gate post and then run a level mark from there and see, and then we'll kind of split that difference of where we set our rollers so that it'll still clear on the high side when it opens, but also keeping these pickets in this gate down as close to the ground as possible when it closes. Okay, so here's our 25 foot mark. I've got the same line going from grade there, level there, and that's where we had a delta of 8 inches. But at this point, we can see, I don't necessarily have to rerun the line, but you can see that we've got about 4.5 inches that we could cheat down. So this mark there, from that point level to ground level here, would be 4.5 inches lower than what we have marked. So we can actually, that actually work out really nicely. We can go 4.5 inches down from that mark, take that as our hypothetical quote unquote ground level for this this portion that has the pickets, which will close to the corner and then we'll open to here. So if we use that as our ground level and set everything accordingly, the pickets will be just above the ground here, and then we'll have this frame to the back. We'll have plenty of clearance to clear there because it won't be as low with not having pickets there. So anyway, we can set this as our hypothetical ground level, that 4.5 inches down from where we're at right now, and still keep those pickets close enough to the ground when they're in the closed position, and then also allow clearance for it to open up when it comes back to this point. So we'll show you how that works out once we get everything in place and the pickets on the gate. So I measured down 4 inches from our line and marked that as our quote unquote ground level, which will be the bottom of our pickets essentially for this gate and this fence along here. And I did the same thing on these two gate posts. We did our 4-inch offset and marked ground, 4-inch offset and marked ground. I'm gonna go run lines and find level on the other gate, and then next on both these we'll set our bottom rollers on these gate posts. Yeah, here we go. We got our two gates. Alright, so we got this one in. We got the end started on that first roller, then picked up on this far end and just slid it in here. Now it's just sitting on those bottom rollers. It's in the middle, so it's balanced. And we're gonna throw on our top rollers. So the other thing to note is whenever you see we're lining up with one of those braces when we set our top roller, because it won't usually be enough visible if you look down it, but sometimes when you weld these braces, it bows that top and bottom rail slightly. So in our experience, it tends to be a little bit taller or prouder right there at those braces as opposed to in the middle of a span. So if you put your rollers on when you've got it in the middle of a span, sometimes the rollers can get tight when you've got a brace rolling through it. So best practice is to set or line up with one of the braces and then put your roller on so that you got a good spacing whenever it rolls open or closed. Okay, similar process here. We're looking back down at our latch post, which is the high side on this one. So I've got the string at the ground level on that latch post coming across here to this back gate roller post, and I've got it leveled up and I've marked our ground level. Then we will use that as reference and measure up to set our rollers for this post, and then measure over, make sure we're level roller to roller on that post. Okay, so these rollers come to U-bolts that go around the post with a washer and a lock washer and a nut that go on each side. Here, then it's got this outside plastic cover, and then the actual roller part is a nylon roller, which does really good. It's a smooth operation. Pretty much see exclusively the nylon. Sometimes the older ones, you got steel rollers, which are tough as nails, but man, they can get stiff and hard to roll. So this nylon is a great option for smooth operation. So this bottom roller sits like this up against the post, and then the top flips over and sits on top of the gate. And then we've got our ground marked here. So different applications could be different clearances, but for this application, I want to mark the top of my plate. So the top of that plate to the bottom of this roller cover is about 6 inches. So I'm going to use that as a reference and go 6 inches from our quote unquote ground level and mark that 6 inches, which will give me a spot to align the top of my plate. And then I'll set this one. Then once I set this one, I will run a line level from the top of that plate over level on that next post and mark the top of that plate so that we know those two rollers are in line and level. Okay, so that's our 6 inches we talked about. Different applications, that could be different. You could need your rollers depending on the gate, the height of the gate, elevation changes. You could need your rollers in different positions, but for this one, it's gonna be 6 inches. So now I'm gonna set my top of that plate of the roller on that line there. Okay, we got this one on. You can see we lined up the top of the plate to our mark. You can see the bolt pattern and the washers. You've got a flat washer here, a lock washer, and your nut. And on these particular ones, it is a 15/16. These ratcheting wrenches come in really handy to get in there and tighten these, but there is quite a bit of load on these, so you gotta make sure they're very tight. And so then we've already run our line from here at the top of this plate over to our next post and run it a line level and marked that for the top of our plate over there and set that one. Okay, so we got both gates in place, and this one's opened up. I can show you the other one over there as well. That one's looking real good. It's at the height that it needs. This one, let's just see how. So it's open right now. You can see we got good clearance underneath it. Man, this thing just slides like a dream. So it slides here to the closed position. Show you this over here. We'll have a latch receiver coming here. Only thing we were just looking at, this is, we pulled our measurement of level from here, and we do need clearance underneath, and those pickets will hang down below. But when we measured up, this is actually a little bit tall, and as you can see, even with the 6 inches of clearance underneath that we need for the pickets, we've got room that we could drop this a little bit. That'll help us get aligned with this other fence here. So we're gonna go down with this one about 3 inches. When you do that, you can do it, if you're strategic about which rollers you move, you can do that. So like right now, in the closed position like it is, the load is on this front bottom roller and the back top roller. So if we wanted to go down, we could loosen that back bottom roller, go down 3 inches exactly where we want it to be, leave that set, then move the gate into the open position, and then come here, and that would take the load off of this roller here, and then the load would be on this roller, and that one that we just moved in the open position, then we can bring this one down that same 3 inches and make sure it's leveled up, and then at that point move it back in the middle like you saw us when we first set it, and then bring our top ones down 3 inches, and you can make an adjustment pretty easy without having to strain yourself if you move the roller strategically depending on whether the gate is open or closed. So we will make that adjustment before we put these pickets on, and we'll mount our latch that this will roll into, and I'll show you the other side real quick. So this one's closed right now. This one aligns perfect with where the top of our pickets are going to be, where it meets this corner, and then we'll be able to line up the fence that goes in front of it with that, so it all matches and looks nice. So, and then this thing clears well. You can see, if you remember when we were laying this out from end to end, we had an 8-inch drop, and you can see at our mark here, which is the 25 where the pickets will stop, we've got the clearance we need, and then the end here clears, and so everything clears well, the top will line up well, and we're good to go with pickets from here.